I can't believe my car is back in the shop. Fuck! No, we're good. We're good. Let's talk about music. Let's go. Hello, Internet. This is Olin from What I'm Listening To. I hope you all are continuing to stay safe, stay healthy, keeping those hands nice and clean, and making sure that your car is still functioning and working so you don't have to take it into the shop. Today, we are here to talk once again about the Berkeley location and how much I freaking love them. But instead of doing yet another trip out to Berkeley, I decided to stay local and have the Berkeley shop come to me. And what I mean by that is the CDs I'm going to talk about all were transferred from the Berkeley shop, whether I knew they had it in their store and I had them transfer it over to San Francisco, or they had it on their Discogs and I had them either transfer it to me to San Francisco or ship it to me. Regardless the situation, I'm very excited to talk about these. They have a killer selection, so let's dive right in. And the first CD I have for you today, I once again have The Fleeting Joys' Despondent Transponder. Now, I've already talked about this CD in a previous New Editions video, so I won't go too much into it. The big thing you all should take away from this is, in the world of modern shoegaze, this is considered one of the best. They're a band from Sacramento, which has also spawned numerous other great bands. This album came out in 2006. It's their very first album. It's insanely good. And for whatever reason, it's really difficult to snag a physical copy. I saw this while perusing on Amoeba Berkeley's Discogs page, and I think they were selling it for about $35, which is pretty steep considering that this is just a standard cardboard sleeve. There's not even a booklet in there. It's just to house the disc. But considering just how great this album is, I couldn't help myself. I had to buy it. And I'm really glad I was able to buy this locally because I've seen listings in just other parts of the US for very high prices. I've even seen sales of it in Japan for the Japanese edition, which is even more expensive. So for me to be able to get this just a town over is excellent. So if you're a fan of shoegaze and if you have not listened to this album, then I highly recommend it. It is very good. The next CD I have for you today, I have Lawrence English's Cruel Optimism. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Amoeba Berkeley's experimental music selection is amazing. And it's not just for the brick and mortar stores. The Discogs page has some amazing listings. So much so that once I found this, I kept browsing to see what else they had, and well, that led to me ultimately filling a shopping cart full of stuff and dropping some money on it. But it was totally worth it because titles like this and the other ones I'm going to talk about are things I never would have found anywhere else. And this is actually something that has been on my Bandcamp want list for a while. When I was really into ambient drone music, I was just scouring online to see what else was out there, and I stumbled across this, I think partly because he collaborated with William Basinski for an album, and I wanted to hear what his solo work sounded like. Like a lot of ambient musicians, he had a lot of stuff in his discography, but I was drawn to this one partly because I just really liked the cover. It's like this mountainous range in the clouds. It was very emotive, and the music is just that too. Very hazy, very emotive, very dramatic sounding, but all things that I really like in ambient music. And like that Fleeting Joys album, the packaging here is just your standard cardboard case, but it does actually have a little insert here that shows the breakdown, the liner notes. I don't know if you can see that. Can you focus, camera? Liner notes breaking down everyone who played on here, which I'm even looking at this side. Thor Harris actually plays on a couple tracks, which is an interesting addition. But yeah, if you're looking for some solid ambient music, then I highly recommend checking out this album. Really good stuff on here. Okay, the next CD is actually kind of a classic. I have Grouper's album, Wide. I am a big fan of Grouper. I've been collecting her CDs for years and years now, but the only things I'm missing from her discography are her earlier works, which are a lot harder and a lot more expensive to get copies of. This is her second album. It's before the days when she signed on to Cranky and released all those amazing beloved albums that we know. But honestly, this is just as good as those albums. Beautiful, abstract, ambient with a little bit of psychedelic folk thrown in there. And just killing it with the album art. Check this out. Whoop. Look at that. That's beautiful. Very minimal too. Inside you can see it's just a sleeve that houses the disc in there. There's no booklet. And like I said earlier, getting copies of these early albums can be very difficult and also very expensive. But Amoeba Berkeley had this listed on their Discogs for only 35 bucks. One of these days I will complete the Grouper discography on CD, but until then, I'm happy I was able to acquire this, and hopefully they'll list more of their stuff on the Discogs page. Next up, I have a band that I've talked about numerous times in previous videos. I have Borin and their Club of Gore, and this is their album Piano Nights. Fairly recently, I was going through a phase where I was just buying up all of these guys' albums. Berkely was actually selling a lot of their stuff, which I wasn't able to find at the San Francisco location. So it just seems appropriate that I was able to snag this one from the Berkely shop as well. Lately, I've been really into the works of Raymond Chandler and his character Philip Marlowe, and in order to kind of set the mood for that dark, hard-boiled noir sort of tone, I need some good dark noir music, and these guys fit the billing perfectly. But this is actually an interesting album because it's a later release, and instead of continuously recycling that dark noir sound that they've done with many other albums, this one almost strays into uplifting tones, which is very strange. But regardless, still really solid stuff. If anything, it just really shows that the band can go and take a different tone and still knock it out of the park. And of course, similar to those other CDs, packaging pretty minimal here. Folds out, got the liner notes in there, got a picture of the band's little practice space. I don't think there's a booklet in this one, nope, just a cardboard sleeve with the disc inside here. Yeah, still fairly minimal, still very skinny for the shelf here. Anybody who's a fan of jazz or dark ambient should absolutely check this band out. Really, you can't go wrong with any of their albums, and at this point, it's only a matter of time before I collect the remaining albums in their discography. They have a lot, but I'm almost there, and this is a nice addition. Next up is more experimental music. This is an album I'm actually not terribly familiar with. This is Caroline Kay's Now Wait for Last Year. Whenever I pay the Berkely store a visit, I always try to leave with at least one experimental album. And more often than not, I'll leave with an experimental album that I don't know a single thing about. Whether I'm not familiar with the album or I'm not familiar with the artist, I like to take a gamble because I've discovered a lot of great experimental music from doing that. And that tradition carried over from shopping on their Discogs page. I saw this listing and wasn't entirely sure what it was, but there was something about the cover that I really liked. So I sampled it a little bit and I ended up really digging the stuff on here. It's just more dark ambient drone music that I just can't seem to get enough of. And this particular version is actually a reissue. It looks like the original one came out in 1987. This came out in 2010, and unlike those other albums, we have it packaged in a jewel case here. This kind of looks like a CDR. There's actually some color on the disc, unlike on the cover here. And the booklet, I think, is pretty minimal, all things considered. Yeah, when you open up the booklet, you have the back and front, You just have this picture of her there, and that's about it. Regardless of whether or not I like this, I have fun just taking gambles on experimental CDs. Sometimes they end up being really, really tremendous, and they end up becoming my favorite, and I can pull it off the shelf and tell someone, you gotta check this out, this is great. And that's something I encourage anybody who's shopping for physical media to do. If you're flipping through the vinyl or the CDs or the cassettes, and you find something that you find intriguing or just curious about, you have the money, just buy it. Check it out, why not? You might end up finding something you really, really enjoy, and that thought alone is just really exciting. So we'll see, this one could be a fantastic listen, and I'm excited to discover what's on here. All right, Internet, we are down to the final CDs, and those two CDs are two albums by the artist Laura Cannell. Just staying on the topic of taking a risk on unknown CDs, these ones, to me, were really, really good finds. There I am still browsing on the Amoeba Berkeley Discogs, and I stumble across these two albums, specifically this one, and again, captivated by the cover, I went and I sampled it, and right then and there I knew I had to buy everything I could get my hands on. I don't really know how to adequately describe the music. It's like folk, but it's also ambient and kind of droney, very minimal. All it is just her playing the fiddle or recorders and composing these pieces that sound kind of mystical, almost medieval, but I don't know what it is, I just can't get enough of it. So much so that I ended up buying 2 albums worth of her material. I think this one might be my favorite. I don't know, there's a couple tracks on this one that I really like too, but it seems like between the two, I've gone back to this one the most, but there's still some great cuts on here. And you can see that one's a digipack and one's a jewel case. Still pretty minimal here. This one just only houses the disc inside. There's not a booklet here. This one, I think there might be a booklet. There's the disc right there. The booklet might just be a piece of paper that's folded, if I can get it out there. Yep, just a folded piece of paper with some liner notes there. Nothing terribly special, but it's very in line with her music, which is again very minimal. Yeah, if you guys are watching, highly, highly recommend checking this woman's work out. Such good stuff here, and if I find any more of her albums on CD, you can bet I'm gonna buy them. Alrighty then, Internet, that does it for me. Hey, if you have any new additions you've added to your collection, whether it's CDs, vinyl, cassettes, let me know what they are. Leave a comment down below. And if you also like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It'll show me the support, and I'll love your face for it. And you can also follow me on Instagram for even more music. I post a new album on there semi-frequently, talk a little bit about it, and it gives you a bit of an insight of what else is in my collection. So, thank you all so very much for watching, and thank you, Berkely, for continuously carrying amazing, amazing selections, whether it be at your store or on Discogs. You know where the good stuff's at. Go shop there if you're interested. But until then, this is Olin from What I'm Listening To, signing out. Goodbye.